there, it's Kevin with GatheringMatches.com with this week's episode of the Rogues Alley. Kaladesh is still not legal on MTG, so we have to wait a while to start brewing some standard deck in Kaladesh. I think that it's kind of pointless to showcase decks in standard at the moment, with rotation right around the corner. However, I usually like to use this time to showcase a Goblins deck. It seems to be like clockwork every year. I'll go back to the Goblin archetype. I think Goblins are pretty well positioned right now in the meta, as we have a lot of non-Siege Rhino or Siege Rhino-less Abzan decks that are really good about single target removal and not very good against these go wide type strategies or the real haste type strategies. They're good against taking care of like Infect and Death Shadow, but not very good with like a turn 2 Burning-Tree Emissary into 2 threats and then just progressing the board. So this is going to be a different take on Goblins, running the Boartusk Liege as the focal point. So the Boartusk Liege is a Goblin Knight which has trample, and all other red creatures get +1/+1 and green creatures get +1/+1. So we're going to try to utilize the Goblin Tribal that have both the colors. So we have cards like the Tattermunge Maniac, the Jund Hackblade, the Ram-Gang, and the Witch, which all of those are going to be quite aggressive. This is a 3/3 haste. If you hook it up with either a Chieftain or a Liege, then it's going to be, basically, it's going to get +2/+2 from the Liege. The curve is really well in this deck, too. You can go like a turn 2 Burning-Tree Emissary into, so turn 1 Goblin Guide or the Maniac into turn 2 Burning-Tree Emissary Hackblade, and you have a ton of power on board. Then if you get a Lord either turn 3 or turn 4, that's usually going to be lethal. So I'm going to run the Reckless Bushwhacker over the Goblin Bushwhacker. It just seems to be a little bit easier to work with the Burning-Tree Emissary. Again, you can do that on turn 2. The Bushwhacker, unfortunately, doesn't have that synergy, and I don't think we want too many. We don't want, like, this isn't an 8-whack deck. Usually 8-whack deck want to run as many small creatures as possible, and this particular deck is going to be curving out higher on, like, turn 4. We're going to run Lightning Bolt as our choice removal spell. There's 4 of them. A 1 of Legion Loyalist with 2 in the sideboard versus decks that run cards like Lingering Souls. The Goblin King and Goblin Chieftain, Boartusk Liege, so a lot of these Lord type abilities, and then just some more high impactful cards. So this deck is probably going to play out more like Zoo than traditional Goblins, with just trying to go around this whole tribal Boartusk and Goblin Chieftain idea. Mana base is just going to be pretty self-explanatory. We're going to run 10 fetch lands, 4 Stomping Grounds, 4 mountains, 2 Copperline Gorges, and a forest. We have Vexing Shusher, which is good versus any sort of blue-based deck, as it can give us some uncountable threats. Atarka's Command against life gain. Legion Loyalist versus the Lingering Souls decks. Destructive Revelry versus Affinity or any sort of enchantment that's giving us issues. And Bloodmoon versus greedy mana bases. So nothing too spicy in the sideboard. Just a very, very linear deck that is just trying to put out a goblin threat and turn your card sideways. So I thought about a few other cards in the deck. I thought about maybe running the Goblin Grenade, but I think the Goblin Grenade is better in an 8-whack type format. Same with Devastating Summons. Same with more Legion Loyalists and the one that puts out a 1/1 and when it dies puts out another 1/1. Can't think of the card at the moment here. Those are kind of the usual suspects in Goblins, and I thought I'd kind of go away from that route and try something new. So I don't know if this is the best way to fine-tune a Goblins. We are in green, and I could easily put Collected Company in the mix too, but I don't think that's usually like when I build Collected Company Goblins, you want to go like all out on Goblin Kings, Goblin Chieftains. It doesn't hit the Boartusk Liege, unfortunately, so I guess a Collected Company could be shoved in here because between the Boggart Ram-Gang and the Chieftains, it gives us enough high-impact cards. You hit that off a Collected Company, you're actually swinging in with 6 damage off of it, but it's really not, I don't think, as ideal as other ones I've done. Didn't run the Pile Driver in this one either. I thought just go the Tattermunge Witch instead. Maybe the Goblin Pile Driver is just better than this. I do like the upside of each blocking creature gets +1/+0 and trample, so it's another way to get through Lingering Souls. But really just wanted to try to showcase the power of the Boartusk Liege. So we're going to queue this up, see how well it does. Not expecting the greatest results with this, but if you're looking to get into Modern, this shouldn't be that expensive a deck to get into. In fact, it might actually qualify for playing on a budget if we were to cut out cards like Bloodmoon and like the Wooded Foothills and Arid Mesas for just more of the, you can run like Copperline Gorges and even cards like the Rootbound Crags as replacement cards, and those are quite inexpensive. We're actually quite spoiled now in Modern with a lot of inexpensive dual lands that are slightly worse than the fetch shock combo. So, especially in a 2-colored base deck. So this could easily get down to budget. The most expensive card I think in this deck would be the Goblin Guides, which I do think are pretty much, yeah, they probably are necessary for this type of strategy. You could cut out the 1-drops completely and go a higher route. I don't see that happening, but it shouldn't be too expensive a deck to throw this all together. Anywho, we'll go ahead and do some games with this. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.